There were days I went to work exhausted, pregnant, emotional, and still had to smile like everything was fine. Most people saw a professional woman doing her job. What they did not see was the silent battle behind that smile. At the time, I was working full time in banking. I had just started building my career after my master's degree, and I was passionate about learning, growing, and creating a future for myself. Like many young professionals, I had dreams. I wanted to succeed. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to build a meaningful career. After a year at the bank, I got married and soon became pregnant with my first child. Suddenly, life became much harder than I expected. My workday usually started around 7 in the morning. Most days, I would not be done until around 7 in the evening. Sometimes we were expected to come in on Saturdays to complete work that could not be finished during the week. It was a demanding environment, the kind of job where customers expected your full attention, the kind of job where you had to remain professional at all times, the kind of job where people judged you by the smile on your face, not by the struggles you were carrying. Many mornings I woke up already exhausted, not because I was lazy, not because I did not want to work, but because growing a human being inside my body was physically and emotionally demanding. Some days I felt sick, some days I felt overwhelmed, some days I felt afraid. And yet, every morning, I got dressed and went to work. I smiled. I greeted customers. I answered questions. I attended to people. And I tried my best to hide how difficult things really were. People often see strength, but they do not always see what it costs. One lesson I learned during that season is that strength is not the absence of struggle. Strength is showing up even when everything inside you wants to stay home and rest. There were moments when pregnancy appointments became another challenge to manage. I did not have dedicated antenatal days off. So, whenever I had a doctor's appointment, I would rush out of work, go to the hospital, see my doctor as quickly as possible, and then return straight back to the office. There was hardly any time to slow down, hardly any time to recover. Life simply kept moving, and I had to keep moving with it. Looking back now, I realize that many of the hardest seasons in life do not come with a pause button. Responsibilities do not disappear because we are tired. Deadlines do not disappear because we are struggling. Life continues. And sometimes all you can do is ask God for enough strength to make it through one more day. That became my prayer. Not for life to become easy, not for every challenge to disappear, but simply for God to give me strength for the day in front of me. And He did. Not always in dramatic ways, not always through instant solutions, but through quiet strength, the kind that helps you get out of bed when you do not feel like it, the kind that helps you keep going when you think you have reached your limit, the kind that reminds you that you are not carrying your burdens alone. Eventually, my first child was born. I thought the difficult part was over. In reality, a new chapter was beginning. I quickly discovered that balancing a demanding banking career and motherhood was not as simple as I had imagined. I loved my child, I loved my career, but trying to give 100% to both felt impossible. Every day felt like a tug of war. Part of me wanted to continue growing professionally. Another part of me wanted to be present for my child. And the truth is, I felt torn. After 3 years of struggling to balance full time work and motherhood, I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. I resigned from my banking job and accepted another role that gave me a bit more time with my family. At the time, it felt like the right decision, but that did not mean it was easy. A lot of people assume that once a decision is right, it automatically becomes painless. That is not always true. Sometimes the right decision still hurts. Sometimes the right decision still requires sacrifice. And sometimes the right decision asks you to let go of something you deeply love. The new role brought its own challenges. I experienced difficulties with my boss, challenges that tested me in different ways, but that is a story for another day. Eventually, I found myself leaving that role and becoming a stay at home mom. The next year, I had my second child. And if I am being honest, that season was one of the most emotionally challenging periods of my life. Not because I did not love my children, I loved them deeply. Not because I regretted my decision, I did not. The challenge came from feeling like a part of my identity had been placed on hold. I enjoyed working, I enjoyed earning my own income. I enjoyed having professional goals. I enjoyed building something outside the home. And suddenly, all of that seemed to pause. Many women experience this. People often assume that motherhood automatically removes every other desire. But many mothers love their families and still miss aspects of their careers. Many mothers are grateful for their children and still struggle with the sacrifices they have had to make. Both things can be true at the same time. You can love your family completely and still mourn the temporary loss of other dreams. One of the hardest moments during that season was watching former colleagues continue moving forward in their careers. Promotions, achievements, new opportunities, professional growth. While I felt as though my own life had been placed on pause, as human beings, this feeling comes naturally. You start wondering if you are falling behind. You start wondering if everyone else is moving forward while you remain stuck. But God began teaching me something important. Not every season is designed for the same purpose. Some seasons are for building careers. Some seasons are for building families. Some seasons are for planting. Some seasons are for harvesting. And just because your season looks different from someone else's does not mean your season is less valuable. That lesson changed everything for me. Instead of focusing on what I had paused, I started focusing on why I made the decision. My children, their future, their development, the opportunity to be present during years that I would never get back. I reminded myself that the sacrifices I was making were investments into lives that mattered, and that perspective helped me keep going. I also made sure that God remained at the center of my life. I was involved in church activities. I embraced opportunities to serve God and stay connected to my faith. Those moments became a source of strength. They reminded me that my value was not tied to a job title. My worth was not tied to a paycheck, and my purpose was bigger than any single season of life. I also stayed connected to my profession. Whenever I had the opportunity, I read industry news. I followed developments in my field. I kept learning, I kept growing, even though I wasn't actively working at that moment. I understood something important. A pause is not the same as the end. Sometimes life asks us to slow down, but slowing down does not mean giving up. There was something else that helped me survive that season. I was not carrying the burden alone. God had blessed me with a supportive spouse. And looking back now, I realize just how much of a difference that made. When I had to pause my career and focus on raising our children, he stepped into that season with me. He knew how much I loved working. He knew how much I valued having my own career and professional goals. And he knew that leaving that part of my life behind, even temporarily, was not an easy sacrifice. Instead of dismissing those feelings, he reminded me why we made the decision. He shouldered the financial burden during that period so I could focus on our children. But his support went far beyond finances. He was present, he was involved, he was hands on whenever he was at home. He gave the children a bath, he fed them, he rocked them to sleep. He showed up in the everyday moments, and those small acts made a huge difference. One lesson I learned during that season is that God often answers our prayers through people. Sometimes his strength comes directly, and sometimes his strength comes through the encouragement, support, and love of those he places beside us. I am grateful for God's faithfulness during that season, but I am also grateful for the people he used to help carry me through it. Another gift God provided during that season was friendship. I had few friends who were going through similar experiences, women who understood exactly how I felt, women who understood the sacrifices, the frustrations, the fears, the joys, the challenges. We encouraged each other. We reminded each other that we were not alone. And together, we learned how to appreciate the season we were in. That support made a tremendous difference because difficult seasons become lighter when shared with the right people. And that brings me to one of the lessons in this story. Every season of life is teaching you something. The difficult seasons teach resilience. The exhausting seasons teach endurance. The uncertain seasons teach faith, and the sacrificial seasons teach love. Nothing you go through is wasted, even when it feels painful, even when it feels unfair, even when it feels like everyone else is moving ahead while you remain where you are. Life is preparing you for challenges you cannot yet see, and every experience is building strength inside you for the road ahead. Another lesson is this: always make room for God in every season. because there will be moments when your own strength is not enough, moments when your motivation disappears, moments when your plans fall apart, moments when you feel forgotten. But God has a way of carrying us when we can no longer carry ourselves. He gives strength for the journey, wisdom for the decisions, peace for the uncertainty, and hope for tomorrow. And finally, choose your friends wisely. Surround yourself with people who understand your season, people who encourage you to do the right thing, people who remind you of your purpose when you start losing sight of it, because the right friends can bring light into very dark moments. Looking back now, I would not describe that chapter of my life as easy, but I would describe it as necessary. It shaped me, it strengthened me, it deepened my faith, and it taught me that some of life's greatest growth happens during seasons we would never have chosen for ourselves.